fifth graders. What's new? I wonder if anything is new with your families in the selection washed up. The last we saw, the Lus were in very large tarp slings hanging from a cliff so they could get out of the wind and stay warm. We also saw the Garcias were making their way to higher ground, but Mr. Garcia had injured his ankle. They were planning on using palm fronds to make a shelter to be protected from the cold. We had also come up with a couple of possible themes. Do you remember what they were? That's right. Adults don't always handle challenges well. And the other was children are smarter than some people give them credit for. Let's see if the story continues the same way. Here are some learning intentions and how we will be successful as we read today. Learning intentions. What? We are learning to compare and contrast two or more characters, settings, or events. How? We will use specific details from the story, and we will discuss the similarities and differences to be successful. We are also going to learn to interpret the meaning of the text. We will do this by analyzing the visual elements in the story. We'll be successful when we discuss and share our interpretation of those visual elements. The next thing we're going to do is learn to identify the plot and text structure of a story. We'll do this by analyzing the author's description of tension or problems, conflict between family members. We will complete a graphic organizer discussing details and examples to be successful. We're also going to learn to determine the meaning and use academic words specific to a text and or content area. We will define the words by using the context clues. We'll be successful when we use these words in the right context. Let's look at a few vocabulary words that we will see in the text today. The first word is glom. I wonder how the word is being used in the text. Let's watch and see how it is used in the text when we read. Glum. It means sad or depressed. Our character here looks pretty glum, doesn't she? The next word is yielded. The root word for yielded is yield, which is a verb. By adding the suffix ed to the root, we now have yielded, which is the past tense of yield. The word yielded means provided or gave. I believe we had this vocabulary word also in our last story. That's right. So you should be quite familiar with this word. Let's think of some synonyms. Surrendered, abandoned, ceded, waived, not waived, but given the right to. So let's see if those help us as we read more into our text. Remember, though, good readers will also see words they don't know and will also identify meaning using context clues, asking someone, or looking the word up in the dictionary or even the Google dictionary. They may even think of synonyms or antonyms to help understand the meaning better. Chapter 3. Look how Barry Blue is dressed. If Barry Blue was out on the island with the families, would she be dressed like this? Why or why not? In her white silk jumpsuit with a paw print across the front, Barry Blue looked radiant and rested. "It's a lovely morning on Washed Up," she said, and then her face dropped theatrically. "But not for everyone. Welcome to day 15. The morning had come like a sauna for the Walpoles, hot, damp, and suffocating. It was their second week on the island, but there was no getting used to the cramped sleeping quarters or the darkness. They hadn't seen the sky in days. Let's reread that paragraph again. The morning had come like a sauna for the Walpoles, hot, damp, and suffocating. It was their second week on the island, but there was no getting used to the cramped sleeping quarters or the darkness. They hadn't seen the sky in days. Think about this description. How does this description of the Walpole situation set the stage for the events that are going to follow? Sounds pretty miserable, doesn't it? Hmm. I have to brush my teeth, complained Mrs. Walpole. She had felt nauseous all night after drinking scummy water from a standing pool. Their water rations were almost down to nothing, but nevertheless, Oliver handed his mother the thermos. Happy birthday, Mom, he said feebly. It was easy to lose track of time here. Was he the only one who remembered that his mom's 40th birthday was what had brought them here in the first place? A paradise island, darling. Sun, sand, sea. Doesn't it sound perfect? He remembered her saying to his father while she read the application form. Hmm, quick question. Why would standing water be scummy and make Mrs. Walpole feel ill? I would raise a toast to you turning 40, my dear, but you finished all the water, said Mr. Walpole sourly. Mrs. Walpole glared at him. Excuse me for supposing this would be a change from all the dull parties you throw me every year. Thanks to you, we'll go hungry. Oliver cringed. The family spat had resumed. Worms, bats, and monkeys had claimed all the ripe fruit that fell to the forest floor. Oliver had built a steady pile of raw fruit, but Mrs. Walpole had left it unguarded while they searched for water, and now most of it was gone. I want to go back to the text. I have some questions for you. According to the text, what is the special day? It's day 15, but what is special about this day for Mrs. Walpole? And where in the text supports your answer? There were several places, I would agree. First of all, Oliver wished her a happy birthday, right? And she had chosen to go on this trip for her birthday party. And then, hmm, Mr. Walpole said he would toast her to turning 40, but he was pretty grumpy, wasn't he? Hmm. What evidence from the text supports the idea that Mr. and Mrs. Walpole argue frequently? Hmm. Find it. Let's go on to the next paragraph. We're going to start right here. It was the dry season, and they'd found a tiny stream at long last, but Mrs. Walpole insisted they keep moving. Since they'd arrived, they'd shifted camp 4 times, but no one knew where they were supposed to be going. Without clear sight of the sun, they were lost. So, what do you notice about this picture? List everything you see. What do you not see? That's right, it is dark. There is no light. But it's morning, remember? So why is it dark? Why are they not seeing the light? Think about where they're located. Mr. and Mrs. Walpole are hurling insults and accusations or blaming each other, aren't they? The conflict isn't pleasant. The conflict with the parents is what we would call external conflict. It's happening out loud. But the conflict with Oliver is internal. We understand that he is uncomfortable with his parents arguing just by the way he reacted when they were arguing again. So his conflict is inside his emotions, his feelings, but his parents' conflict is out, right? So it's external. and Oliver's is internal. These conflicts are key elements to the plot. Let's keep this in mind when we complete our graphic organizer in a few minutes. They were walking in glum silence, slipping in the underbrush, getting scraped by thorns, when out of nowhere a sea breeze broke the stillness. The beach! Oliver cried. They'd been walking in circles and now they were back where they'd started. Do you remember when we defined the word glum earlier? We said it meant to be sad or depressed, right? In the sentence it's used here, it is used to describe silence. It said they were walking in glum silence. Hmm, that's not a person. Can silence be sad or depressed? Why do you think the author used the phrase glum silence? Good job. No, the silence is not sad or depressed, but the mood the family is in right now is not pleasant. And sometimes when we are sad, depressed, or grumpy, we don't talk and we are quiet. And it can even be kind of an uncomfortable silence. You ever know someone to be very upset with you and so they're not talking? That's not comfortable, is it? I think the author must want us to understand that emotion and reaction that causes the mood for everyone around us. Hmm, what else in that paragraph adds to it not being pleasant? That's right. Everything around them was not pleasant. They were slipping while they were walking, they were getting scratched by thorns, and then there is a breeze. But I imagine the weather is hot and humid or muggy, right? Hmm. So, how does the mood relate to the family walking in a circle? Keep that in mind. What is this illustration saying? That's right. It's telling us about when the animals had stolen all of their fruit, right? Hmm. I don't think I would want to keep my food out because I would not want the animals to take it. They stared at the blue glimmer of the sea, but Oliver's parents had no strength to keep going. They decided to stop and rest. I'll walk down the beach and see what I can find, said Oliver, eager to get away. Get us some new matches, shouted Mrs. Walpole behind him as though he were off to the store. Because I'm to blame for getting the old ones wet, Mr. Walpole was muttering, but he was out of Oliver's earshot now. They're still fussing, aren't they? Oliver numbered the trees with his knife. He knew this would help him return to his parents, although he wanted most right now was the time away from them. The beach yielded nothing except for some kelp and the discarded shell of a sea urchin, but it was wonderful to be beneath the open sky again. He followed the natural curve of the shore to where he had seen the boat vanish with the Garcias on it, and he hit a dead end. The tide was rough here, where it crashed upon the coral reefs, but as Oliver turned, the sunlight glanced off something farther inland. Suddenly, Oliver saw something that made his heart leap. I want to go back to this slide for just a minute. Do you remember when we defined yielded? We said it meant to provide or give. So why does the text say the beach yielded nothing except for some kelp and the discarded shell of a sea urchin? That's right. Oliver had gone down to the beach for something. What was it? Although the text didn't tell us, the illustration did. Their food had been taken by the animals, so Oliver had gone down to the beach to see if he could find food. But the beach did not provide any food, did it? Mm-hmm. And then on this page, it said that he suddenly saw something that made his heart leap. What do you predict Oliver saw? If it made his heart leap, I would think he is excited, wouldn't you? Hmm. Now let's look at some ways the author describes tension between the Walpole family members. I see that Mr. and Mrs. Walpole are arguing in front of their son, making him cringe. Let's say that is the first event. So I typed Mr. and Mrs. Walpole argue over food and water. What do you think the second event would be? I agree. Oliver realized they were near the beach. So, what in the text told him that? That's correct. There was a sea breeze. So, we said the second event, the Walpoles feel a sea breeze and Oliver realizes they are near the beach. Okay, now it's your turn. What do you think the last two events would be from this part of the text? Don't forget to go back to the text. You may write in your journal, or maybe your teacher has posted a seesaw assignment for you to submit your answers. I also have a challenge for you. I'd like for you to write a paragraph of what you think Oliver saw. Use descriptive words to paint a picture in your reader's mind. Fifth graders, you have done a spectacular job today. I'm so proud of you. Don't stop working. Remember, perseverance and believing you can do it will help you reach your goals.